Hey guys, how you doing? It's Tom back with another video. I've recently heard about a couple of stories, and one of them was, on YouTube, of course, like another vlogger was talking about this. But also, I heard about somebody around where I live. I don't know the person, but I kind of heard it through a friend of mine that who also lives in the area. Um, but it seems like there's some guys out there that having trouble, accessing their money, right? Or they're not, I don't know, they're not doing it. They're not electronically sort of processing their Social Security payments and stuff like that. They're still dealing with paper checks, um, and I don't know if they do if the Social Security does debit cards also for people or whatever. But I just wanted to talk about something, and I know I've mentioned this, on previous videos, but I would recommend for anybody to just to make it easy on yourself, and so that you don't have some crisis happen. Yeah, number one, obviously, like some other vloggers talk about, you need, and like I've mentioned, you need to have more than one way to access money. Okay, when you're living in the Philippines, and especially if you have your bank accounts in the U.S., okay, you need to have backups. Whether it's Western Union or MoneyGram or Remitly or you know, I think there's another one, right? There's at least one other one out there, that you can where you could send yourself money, and then you just go to the remittance places that they have all over the place here in the Philippines. I mean, Western Union has offices. They're not always standalone Western Union offices. Sometimes they're offices in malls, okay, that do all of them. They do Western Union. Sometimes they'll even do LBC in the same office, or that Cebuana. All these other sort of money sending places that they have here in the Philippines. Sometimes they'll have these stores in the malls, and they'll have all of them. Like they'll have like 6 or 7 different companies in one office. And sometimes they'll have a standalone office or area. And either way they work. You just have to fill out the paperwork and all that to send yourself money if you're doing it that way. But if you're the easiest way to do it is just to do it electronically. Like with Western Union, you could send yourself money electronically, and then you just have to go pick it up. You know, then you need the transaction number that they give you when you send the money, and of course your ID. Government ID, right? Um, but that's the easiest way to do it. You know what I mean? Where you just try and do things electronically. And this would apply to guys that are still in the United States. I mean, and if you're, and I know that there's guys my age or even older, right, like in the 60s and 70s, who maybe aren't very computer literate. They just don't use computers a lot, never had to use them. Maybe when their previous jobs or careers, for some reason, they never had to use them. It's kind of hard to imagine that, right? Like it seems like, man, you think you would have some kind of computer use, required, right, for some kind of job, or for almost all jobs, right? But apparently, it's not the case. I mean, there's some jobs in the U.S. that you don't need computer. And as far as like electronic payments and stuff, like auto payments, like for Social Security, I mean, private companies have been doing this for years. Where if you work a regular job, private, whether it's private job or government job, you always have that ability to just have the money sent into your bank account automatically. I mean, it's been going on for 30 years probably, right? Really, at least 20. But I mean, some companies were doing this 30 years ago, 25 years ago. And you know what? When you do that, the money goes into your account at midnight, okay? In other words, if your payday is on a Wednesday, basically Tuesday night at midnight, that money, or 12:01 or whatever, that money will be in your account. So you don't, you get it faster, than if you're dealing with like paper checks. Um, to me, if you're still dealing with paper checks, even whether you're living in the U.S. or especially if you're living here in the Philippines, that's that's not good at all. I mean, I mean, think about it. You're leaving yourself open to so many things that could go wrong, right? Now you're putting other entities between you and your money, like the post office. Okay, number one. You think they never lose mail at the post office? I mean, of course they do. And then what happens? Oh, okay, we'll send you another check or whatever. And then talk about delays and stuff. That's going to be a huge delay. And if you're living here too, like I don't even know how you would do that. I mean, well, I guess you could have them mail it all the way here. You know what I mean? Like literally mail it here, especially. I mean, it'd be easier if you're in a city, where it's a lot easier to sort of get mail when you have a mailbox. Like if you're living in Manila, or maybe Cebu, or pretty much all the big cities, it might be a little easier. But why would you want to do that? Why not? Why not just do it electronically? Just have the money put into your bank automatically, and then you just have a debit card, and you access your money at an ATM here if you want, right? With a debit card. In other words, if you don't want to open up a bank account here in the Philippines, then you would just have to use your ATM with your debit card. And if you use your regular, most banks in the U.S., unless you get some kind of deal with them or find a bank that gives you a deal, but there is going to be a fee. It's going to be probably about 250 peso fee, every time you use that ATM card, unless it's Charles Schwab, Fidelity, or USAA. Those are, and there might be more. There might be other banks where, because you have so much money, maybe you have a bunch of money in that bank, and they say, okay, we'll waive all the transaction fees, for you in other countries and stuff. Yeah, that's possible. You know what I mean? If you have like 6 figures in their bank or whatever, they might do that. But on the whole, it's those 3 that I know about. Those are the big 3, that will waive the transaction fees, and that could be considerable. I mean, that's almost like $4.50 per time that you use the ATM here. Okay, and there's limits too. So that's going to be several times a month because they only let you take out a lot of times 10,000 pesos per time. Okay, per use. So that's only not even $200. That's like $185 or whatever. So obviously, times that times 10. So you could easily be using your ATM 10 times a month. So if you think about it, if you had to pay $4.50 times 10, right? That's $44.50 a month that you'd be paying in fees if you didn't have those fees waived. So it adds up. It's considerable. But anyway, yeah, to me, like I said, with a paper check, I don't even know, even if you had a mailing address in the U.S., it's going to go there, but then from there, you know what I mean? Like you would have to have a family member pick it up or something and then deposit it into your bank account for you if you were going to still do things that way. It's just so much easier to do things electronically. Now, if you're absolutely just can't figure out how to, do things on a computer and all that, then I would hope that maybe you would have somebody that you trust that could set things up for you. You know what I mean? That can set up online accounts for you, for your Social Security and for other things, Even paying bills. If you had bills still that you were still paying in the U.S., even though you're living overseas, you could pay them automatically, electronically, every month. And you get emails, you get receipt confirmations. I mean, it's really convenient. It really is. And I don't see why anyone would still want to do things the old-fashioned way. Like the old paper check. Receive a paper check way and all that. It's just you just leave yourself open to heartache because like I say, you're there's other people now that are involved between you and your paycheck, or your Social Security check, right? And now there's post office, now there's this, now there's that. It's just, yeah, it's not very efficient. Uh, and it could lead to a lot of problems. So. Yeah, like I said, I would hope that maybe you could find somebody, at least one person out there that you could trust that could set things up for you. Because with Social Security, man, once you set it up, right? The auto payment and all that. You're good to go. Like you don't have to even log in necessarily. You don't have to keep logging in your Social Security website account just to check on it because guess what? You could log into your bank account and you'll see it. You'll see the deposit going there, on such and such a day or whatever, every month, And when you pay bills automatically online and all that out of your bank account automatically, you can see the money coming out of your bank account. You'll see it going, the ComEd or whatever, which is the electric company in the U.S., the big electric company. You'll see all that stuff happen, like. So you can just save stuff. You could always access it. You could keep track. You could print stuff out if you really wanted to, if you thought you needed to. But I mean, but it's so much easier than it was when we were kids, or when we were young adults even, right? Because, this internet thing really didn't catch fire until like the mid 90s, okay? When I was like in my mid 30s, okay? That's when the internet started basically, so. Yeah, I understand how, what you might be thinking if you're a guy that's like in your 60s or 70s and all that. But things are just so much easier now, you know what I mean? Like when it comes to doing things like that, you just don't really have to mail out stuff anymore, really. You know what I mean? You don't have to mail your bills out anymore. You can just pay things electronically, So, yeah, I would just advise you to really go that route, and try to do it, get things set up before you come to the Philippines, you know what I mean? If you're coming here to live, especially, get all that stuff set up when you're in the United States, okay? Just so much easier, and there's other more complicated things that you can do, to sort of protect yourself online, like getting a VPN, virtual private network and stuff like that. But that's sort of like, I don't want to get too complex here, but my thing is I just wanted to address this point because it just seems like you got to have more than one way to access your money, and really you should do it electronically, And I know that there's some guys that live here that they get their Social Security money into they actually have a Philippine bank account, and they have it sent to the bank account in the Philippines every month, and they do it that way. And if you want to do that, that's fine too, But I guess my point is get away from the paper checks and all that mail, snail mail. Don't be dealing with that. That's just it's not good, nowadays. I mean, it's not necessary at all, So, all right, guys, I just wanted to touch on that point, But please like and comment, subscribe, and that's about it, guys. Hope you have a good day, and I'll talk to you later.